Hello, Earth. How are you today? Some things that we are going to cover. Will the coronavirus kill what's left of Americans' faith in Washington? African Americans are highly visible in the military but almost invisible at the top. Amazon angles to grab back customers. What a week's disasters tell us about climate and the pandemic. College made them feel equal. The virus exposed how unequal their lives are. The most patriotic thing you can do right now, opinion piece, New York Times. Why does the US military celebrate white supremacy, opinion, New York Times? With unemployment expected to reach 20%, senators take vacation, opinion, New York Times. Europe is subsidizing millions of paychecks. Companies want to keep it that way for now, Wall Street Journal. A Disruptive President in a Storm of Crisis by Walter Russell Mead, Wall Street Opinion. The liberal-leaning media has passed its tipping point, Van Gordon Souther, Wall Street Journal Opinion. As its economy slows, China embraces a weaker currency. Tax credit for keeping workers on payrolls draws bipartisan interest. United States moves to audit Chinese firms, markets fret over what comes next. Merck does deals to help to develop coronavirus vaccines and a drug. More people are taking drugs for anxiety and insomnia, and doctors are worried. California activists ramp up the fight against facial recognition technology. Western economies see the biggest slump since the financial crisis. Coronavirus further strains a UK union already under pressure. Second fuel tanker from Iran arrives in Venezuela. Hong Kong in shock as China's Xi Jinping goes for the nuclear option. Benjamin Netanyahu goes on the offensive after his corruption trial opens. What history tells us about the accelerating AI revolution. Companies' financial planning comes up short in the coronavirus era. Compliance layoffs, budget cuts raise prospect of looser internal oversight. Today's logistics report, Amazon opens its warehouses, new seafood lures, retail's growing gap. Merck drives into COVID-19 fray with 2 vaccines and 1 antiviral. Oil resumes its rise, lifted by supply cuts and pickup in demand. Special report from Reuters, Jair Bolsonaro brought his generals to fight the coronavirus. Brazil is losing the battle. Coronavirus spreads in Brazil's oil fields as 5 offshore operators register cases. United States brings forward a travel ban as Brazil surpasses its daily death toll. Fears of coronavirus second wave prompt flu push at U.S. pharmacies and drug makers. United States small firms leave $150 billion in coronavirus stimulus untapped. How about next June? Small meat processors backlogged as virus idles big plants. China's coronavirus campaign offers a glimpse into the surveillance system. Germany stamps the authority on Lufthansa with a $9.8 billion lifeline, of which I believe it's going to give them a 20% stake, government 20% stake in Lufthansa. Bank of Japan to pump nearly $16 billion to the economy via a loan scheme. Amount doubles on a new incentive. China's Xi urges preparedness for military combat amid coronavirus pandemic. Tech companies target temperature monitoring patches for COVID-19. As Chinese authorities expand use of health tracking apps, privacy concerns grow. United States drilling industry says offshore ban would crush jobs, government revenues. Global drive for the coronavirus vaccine tops $10.4 billion as the EU says global campaign to fund development of vaccines and therapies against COVID-19 has raised $10.4 billion. A new normal Indonesian army set to enforce COVID-19 measures. 8,000 excess deaths in Mexico City as coronavirus rages. Burkina Faso, the devastating impact of attacks on education. Hospitals are overwhelmed as coronavirus cases explode in India. More than a fifth of the country's coronavirus cases are in Mumbai, where people struggle to find hospital beds. Taiwan targets truth, not justice, as it investigates darker times. Carrie Lam says security laws will not affect Hong Kong freedoms. Afghanistan to free 900 more Taliban prisoners. Bloomberg Opinion, Jared Kushner's latest idea doesn't make much sense. Bloomberg Opinion, U.S. nationalism pits the financial world against China. Now in default, Argentina plans improved offer for creditors. Hong Kong braces for downtown protests over China-backed laws. Federal workers see risks to them in Trump push to reopen the United States. Wuhan tests millions in 12 days as China fears a second virus wave. Wuhan found 206 asymptomatic patients from 6.68 million people. How the Taliban outlasted a superpower, tenacity and carnage, a New York Times in-depth review. China's young struggle for jobs in the post-outbreak era. China's virus apps may outlast the outbreak, stirring privacy fears. Here's how Wuhan tested 6.5 million people in days. Opinion piece, Paul Krugman, New York Times, in praise of fallible leaders, we need a president who can admit when he's wrong. The backward logic of austerity threatens America's most vibrant campus. Opinion piece about CUNY, Community College of New York. Sorry, I don't know that one. Opinion piece, New York Times, the brutal clarity of the Trump-McConnell plan to protect businesses. Keeping your business going may mean both growing and shrinking. For some companies like Mike's Organic Delivery, embracing higher demand without changing their core strategy is key to their survival. It's not obesity, it's slavery. Opinion piece from the New York Times, we know why COVID-19 is killing so many black people. ISIS prisoners threaten a United States mission in northeastern Syria's overcrowded makeshift prisons and camps, and fears of COVID-19 have led to 2 riots by hardened fighters. Why Amazon fires keep raging 10 years after a deal to end them. After a Caribbean hurricane, the battle is where or even whether to rebuild. When Hurricane Irma crushed St. Martin 2 years ago, the French state vowed swift assistance. Aid has flowed in, but a fight has followed about recovery plans, exposing racial and class tension. As Bolsonaro keeps Amazon vows, Brazil's indigenous fear ethnocide. Either they kill us or we kill them inside gang territory in Honduras. Women are fleeing death at home. The United States wants to keep them out. Violence against women is driving an exodus of migrants from Central America, but the Trump administration is determined to deny them asylum. How American gun laws are fueling Jamaica's homicide crisis. Where the police wear masks and the bodies pile up fast. The police killed an average of 17 people every day in Brazil last year, and rogue officers are killing even more off-duty. I'm a hero to my people, one militia leader said. By air and sea, mercenaries landed in Libya, then the plan went south. A short-lived mission uncovered by U.S. investigators offers a glimpse into the world of those who have thrived off Libya's chaos. Oil-starved Venezuela celebrates arrival of tankers from Iran. As meatpacking plants reopen, data about worker illness remains elusive. Emails show local officials received conflicting signals from state leaders and meatpacking companies about how much information to release about outbreaks in plants. And launched first human trials in the Southern Hemisphere for a coronavirus vaccine. Melbourne is the beating heart of Australia's internationally acclaimed medical research. Trials began at the Alfred Hospital and Burnet Institute. That is what we will be covering on the show today. Good morning, Not a Real Artist, Maxwell Corrigan, Tarrod, and Skrills. Thank you for coming by. It appears we have about 80 stories to try to cover. All right, let's get to it. There is going to be a Touring News AM Quickie that is going to be, it's being worked on. So many people have offered to help me with my show, and I always felt hesitant to accept their help because I didn't want to let people down. But I am letting people help me now. Good morning, Dr. Buenablin. There is something that I am actually going to go do here really quick. My stepfather has to go to a clinic today to go get like a shot and like a checkup and some stuff. But I'm going to give my parents a hug because I haven't given them a hug in forever, and we've been isolated and quarantined literally for, 2.5 months now. I haven't been in public since the 10th of March, I think. So very quick hug to the family before they go. And and then let's do it. Okay, gave a hug to the family. It was wonderful. Act.tv is back on the sidebar. Hell yeah. That is awesome. Um, that is amazing. Act.tv back on the sidebar. All right. It is a full plate today. 80 stories to cover. Let's begin. Will the coronavirus kill what's left of Americans' faith in Washington? In 2019, just 17% of Americans said they trusted the federal government to do the right thing. The pandemic appears to be eroding their faith even more. No, I didn't, Nusha. Link it in. Alright, so I don't think that we're going to have to read a ton of this article. It's really just showing that we don't have any faith in our government any longer. The number has been declining for decades through Democratic and Republican administrations. In 2019, it reached one of the lowest points since the measure began. Just 17% of Americans trusted the federal government to do the right thing, just about always, or most of the time, according to the Pew Research Center. Polls consistently show much more faith in local government, and some governors are currently enjoying high marks for their handling of the pandemic. Even so, in a week of more than 20 interviews, Americans said the government in Washington was not rising to meet the challenge of the virus. Many noted that corporations seemed to be getting the lion's share of federal relief money, while small businesses suffered. They expressed bafflement that people had been asked to stay home and sacrifice, but they were not given enough financial support to do so. Dems tended to be more skeptical than Republicans of Washington. This is talking about some soldiers that lost their faith in the government because of the Iraq War. We still don't really have health care. We are still paying high prices for drugs. We are still in a war that lasted for 17 years. Oh, damn. Me voting for Joe Biden isn't going to change any of that. That's what's frustrating. Miss Milner gets it. Jacob Hacker, a political scientist at Yale University, argues that the answer lies in two questions. Are things going well? And is the government representing me? As inequality has risen, the answer to both has increasingly been no. Rising inequality is a huge shock to our society and political system, said Mr. Hacker, who explores the topic in a forthcoming book. Let Them Eat Tweets, How the Right Rules... Ooh, this could be an interesting book. Let Them Eat Tweets, How the Right Rules in an Age of Extreme Inequality. A friend shared a fake documentary saying the pandemic had been deliberately planned. Another friend in nursing school was insistent that people should not quarantine. When she suggested that a friend call a state representative to get help with a problem related to unemployment benefits, her friend's response was to attack the representative. The reply I got was, I don't trust them to do anything. They are giving us unemployment, so we become reliant on them. 2/3 said they viewed their local government favorably, according to the Pew Research. And there is some evidence that during the crisis, people are learning to rely on one another in their communities and rediscovering the power of local government. Residents in Mendota, Minnesota, shout out Mendota, Minnesota, Mr. Donnelly, a teacher and a member of the Mendota City Council, said residents are going out of their way to help one another, leaving food packages in the tiny town post office. You deserve some recognition for this, friend. I go to these cable commission meetings once a month. They're boring and really hard to sit through, yet there are 20 people showing up to give their great spring Minnesota night to do their civic duty. Hell yeah. That's the government right there. Thank you. That's a good way to end that article. Damn, really, Skrills? African Americans are highly visible in the military, but almost invisible at the top. 75 years after integration, the military's upper echelons remain the domain of white men, by Helene Cooper, New York Times. A photograph of Trump and his top four-star generals and admirals tweeted in October by Defense Secretary Esper was meant as a thank you, but it angered a lot of others, and not just those who erupted on Twitter. Do they have the photo up here? No, they don't. You would have thought it was 1950, said Lieutenant Colonel Walter J. Smiley Jr., who is African American and fought in Iraq and Afghanistan before retiring last year after 25 years in the Army. Dana Petard, a retired military general, also African American, was equally frustrated. It's America's military. Why doesn't this photo look like America? 43% of the 1.3 million men and women on active duty in the United States military are people of color, but the people making crucial decisions, such as how to respond to the coronavirus crisis or how many troops to send to Afghanistan or Syria, are almost entirely white and male. Here's the photo that they were referring to. One, two, yeah, I mean, well, you can see. Because they're reporting on something. Of the 41 most senior commanders in the military, those with 4-star rank in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, only 2 are black: General Michael X. Garrett, who leads the Army's Forces Command, and General Charles Q. Brown, Jr. The reasons there are so few people at the top lie deep in the history and culture of the U.S. military. A 1925 guidance for Army officers stated that black service members were a class from which we cannot expect to draw leadership material. The armed forces were not fully integrated until after World War II, a legacy that has left African Americans without the same history of generations of family service shared by so many white enlistees. The African Americans who become officers are often steered to specialize in logistics and transportation rather than the marquee combat arms specialties that lead to top jobs. Interviews with more than 36 white, black, and Hispanic service members and officers depict an entrenched and clubby system with near cement ceilings for minority groups. Racism within the military appears to be on the rise. A survey last fall of 1,630 active duty subscribers to Military Times found that 36% of those polled and 53% of minority service members say they had seen examples of white nationalism or ideologically driven racism among their fellow troops. The numbers were up significantly from the same poll conducted in 2018, when 22% of all respondents reported personally witnessing white nationalism. In recent years, the Pentagon has faced intensifying criticism for a series of racist episodes. A lawsuit filed in federal court in February by a Navy fighter pilot accused airmen and officers of the Naval Air Station Oceana in Virginia Beach of seeking to cover up institutional racism directed at African American aviators, which he said resulted in their wrongful removal from pilot training programs. The pilot's lawyer said in an interview that black airmen at the base, among other things, given racially derogatory call signs like 8-ball and referred to as eggplants in group chats on social media. In December, West Point announced that its Black Knights football team had removed its flag from its flag the initials GFBD for God Forgives, Brothers Don't, after learning that it was a slogan demanding loyalty by the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, a white supremacist prison gang. The small sniper community in the Marine Corps has often used a Nazi symbol, the lightning bolt insignia of Hitler's SS units, as a stand-in for scout sniper. The absence of minorities at the top means the absence of a voice to point out things that should have been addressed a long time ago, and from a human standpoint, this absence sends another message that here's another space where we are not accepted. Minority service members applaud two recent changes, however. In March, General Brown was nominated to be the next Air Force Chief of Staff, and in January the Navy announced that its newest aircraft carrier would be the first to be named after a black seaman, the African-American World War II hero Doris Miller, who manned anti-aircraft guns during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor and helped save the wounded. But service members note that two other aircraft carriers retained the name of segregationists, John S. Stennis and Carl Vinson. One of the biggest problems service members say is that white men in the top ranks don't see the problem. In July, General John E. Hyten, the second highest officer in the military, told a Senate committee that racism in the military was a thing of the past compared with the issue of sexism. When I came into the military, I came in from Alabama, and racism was a huge problem in the military, overt racism. General Hyten, the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I watched commander after commander after commander take charge, own that, and anytime they saw it, eliminated it from the formation. Now, when I'm in uniform, I feel colorblind, which is amazing, he said. If you enter the Pentagon at the Potomac River entrance, where foreign dignitaries are greeted by the Defense Secretary, you'll have to walk down E-Ring Hall with its portraits of the men who have led the United States Armed Forces for the past century. To nearly a one, the African-American service members interviewed for this article said they paused when they walked by the painting of General Colin Powell, the first and only black chairman to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. His portrait, they said, came both as a relief that he was there at all and a reminder that no one else with their skin color had made it. I walk their halls and nobody on their wall looks like me. I exhale when I see Colin Powell, said Lilla Hawley, a former Army Chief Warrant Officer. The Army in particular is a pretty bub-oriented system, said Derek Chollet, a former Assistant Secretary of Defense. It's about who's going to take care of you, so if you don't have senior leadership that makes fixing this a priority, it's very hard to see it happening. Rising to the top of the military means enduring a 4-decade career of often being the only minority service member in the room, platoon, or meeting. If I had to go to work every day for 38 years where I was the only person of color in the room, wow, General Chiarelli said. I don't know how I'd feel about that. Equally crucial is where you come from. Graduates of West Point, Annapolis, and Colorado Springs are typically destined for military leadership, but graduates of historically black colleges and universities are not. African Americans have a history of combat, from the Buffalo Soldiers who served on the Western Front after the Civil War to the Tuskegee Airmen in World War II to the black soldiers who fought in Vietnam. They were all fighting for a country, African Americans have pointed out, that has a long legacy of not treating them as equal citizens. The history of some of the military's most storied combat units, the soldiers who landed on Omaha Beach or the Marines who stormed Iwo Jima, has largely excised the black and brown troops who fought alongside the white men. This casting of military history heightens the sense that among African Americans, they say, that they are still not welcome in such units. The elite special forces, Navy SEALs, Army Green Berets, Rangers, and Delta Force commandos, tend to be as white as the military's top ranks. I remember sitting in a review of a Ranger regiment. I was blown away looking at 600 to 700 young men, and I was straining to see if I could find a single person of color. Some African Americans are discouraged from combat by their families. Tess Solomon Kiffel, an African American who worked in the Marines Mortuary Affairs Department, said his mother did not want him joining the military to begin with, let alone going into combat arms. Other black men in the military offer similar accounts of terrified mothers battered by years of trying to protect their sons from a society in which being young, black, and male can be a death sentence. In this view, combat arms in the military was yet another threat. Many African Americans saw military service not as a career but as a way to help pay for education or to help compete later in the civilian job market. By contrast, many white service members with long family histories of service sign up for what they call the warrior culture. When news broke in October 2017 that one black service member was among the 3 Green Berets and a mechanic killed in an ambush in Niger, several African American colonels who were interviewed for this article said they knew immediately that the black service member was the mechanic. But even though Sergeant Johnson did not have the Green Beret patch on his sleeve, he died firing his weapon in the scrub of remote Niger, surrounded by advancing militants. Something else is happening, said Reuben E. Brigady, a former Navy submarine officer who is now the dean of George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs. Unless you presume that ethnic minorities are just not as good as their white male counterparts, there has to be another reason. The other reason. In the Marines, the term for a black Marine is non-swimmer. In the Army Rangers, it is Night Ranger. I heard the name Night Ranger. Come here, Night Ranger. That doesn't make you feel very welcome, said General Petard. The non-swimmer name, meant as a slur, refers to the ages-old trope that black people can't swim. Like any trope, there is just enough of a glimmer of truth to make it hard to shake. General Petard, who made it as far as the commander of land forces for the American-led coalition battling the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq in 2014, said that when he entered West Point in 1977, fewer than 10 out of 100 black freshmen knew how to swim. To graduate, they had to learn. We graduated 42 black cadets, so we lost 58. General Petard retired in 2015 after he was reprimanded after a 3-year investigation by the Army Inspector General for the perception of favoritism in a defense contract award that went to a firm run by 2 of his former West Point classmates. In interviews, African American, Asian, and Hispanic officers and enlisted service members described a feeling of not being accepted that was sometimes so intangible that many grew frustrated trying to describe it. African American officers said they had no room for error, and that episodes that had little consequence for their white counterparts ended careers for them. Consider the cases of Colonel Gus Benton and Colonel Bradley D. Moses, 2 commanding officers at different times of the same elite Army Green Beret unit, the 3rd Special Forces Group. Colonel Benton is black and Colonel Moses is white. On the 21st of February 2010, when Colonel Benton was the commander of the unit, his group was involved in an episode in Afghanistan in which American warplanes struck 3 vehicles full of Afghan civilians in the Uruzgan province, killing 21 people, including children. Oh my God. Colonel Benton, who took part in approving the airstrikes, received the career-ending letter of reprimand. In the unit, he had often talked about his black college fraternity and was viewed as an outlier in the largely Green Beret world. He retired in 2014. In October 2017, Colonel Moses was the commanding officer of the unit when the ambush in Niger occurred, killing the 4 American service members. Colonel Moses approved the Niger mission, including a change in plans that made the mission more dangerous and led to the ambush. The Army has since put Colonel Moses forward to the Senate Armed Services Committee for promotion to Brigadier General, although the nomination was blocked by lawmakers in March. Good article. Punk Sai. How you doing? Amazon angles to grab back customers. After losing some online shoppers to rivals during the pandemic, the giant is turning back to faster shipping times and big sales. Oh, the captain's log. Hello, good to see you. It removed limits on the types of products allowed in its warehouses. There's really nothing in this article that I've seen yet that's really important to share. What a week's disasters tell us about climate and the pandemic. Extreme weather presents an even bigger threat when economies are crashing and ordinary people are stretched to their limits. By Somini Sengupta, May 23rd, 2010. A cyclone slammed into the Indian megacity of Kolkata. Pounding rains breached two dams in the Midwestern United States, and on Thursday came a warning that the Atlantic hurricane season could be severe. It all served as a reminder that the coronavirus pandemic, which has killed 325,000 people, is colliding with another global menace, a fast-heating planet that acutely threatens millions of people, especially the world's poor. Relief organizations working in eastern India and Bangladesh, for instance, say the lockdown had already forced people to rely on food aid by the time the storm Cyclone Amphan hit. Then high winds and heavy rains ruined newly sown crops that were meant to feed communities through the next season. Locusts as well. Abnormally heavy rains last year, which scientists say were made more likely by the long-term warming of the Indian Ocean, have exacerbated a locust infestation across eastern Africa. Higher temperatures make it more inviting for locusts to spread to places where the climate wasn't as suitable before, and in turn destroy vast swaths of farmland and pasture for some of the poorest people on the planet. While the risks are different from region to region, taken together they should be seen as a sobering signal of what lies ahead for countries all over the world. A group of scientists and economists warned this month in an opinion piece in Nature Climate Change. The impacts, and this is so important to know, the impacts will not be equal. I wonder... Nah, that's not going to work really. Never mind. They put specific populations at heightened risk and compromised recovery. You're right, Janos. If there's anybody that feels like it, if you want to like retweet that my channel is live or anything like that, I think it's kind of helpful for me in this kind of stuff. Or if anybody wants to follow my Twitter, I really appreciate all of the support and help that I get from all of you. We're in this together. Compound climate risks in the COVID-19 pandemic, nature, climate change. I'm going to have to read this one on my own. There's, well, yeah, alright, let's try to get it. Let's try to get it done. Oh, hello, Memo, for the record. Haven't seen you in a little while. I hope you're doing alright. By a little while, it's been probably like 5 or 6 days. Good day to you. Oh, hell yeah. Nice. Alright, this is a very long article. We're gonna do our best attempt to get... Oh, actually, it's not all that long. Alright, this isn't bad. Oh, sorry for wind. Got some strong currents coming. Figure 1, likely upcoming climate hazards during the COVID-19 pandemic. Floods in the Midwest, wildfires in the West, hurricanes in the South, all the United States, hurricanes in the Caribbean. Droughts and water scarcity in South Africa. Shit, my African geography is horrid. I am very sorry for this. And South America. Locust crises in the Horn of Africa, heat waves in India and Europe, floods in Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, wildfires in Russia, typhoons in the Philippines, cyclones in New Zealand, and bushfires in Australia. Furthermore, this year may be the upcoming hottest on record. Somalia, thank you. College made them feel equal. The virus exposed how unequal their lives are. This is an older article, I think maybe a month old. When they were all in the same dorms and eating the same dining hall food, the disparities in students' backgrounds weren't as clear as they were over a video chat. Published April 4th by Nicholas Casey. The political science class was called Forced Migration and Refugees. Students read accounts of migrants fleeing broken economies and seeking better futures, of life plans drastically altered in the political forces that made it all seem necessary. Then suddenly the subject matter became personal. Haverford College shut down and evicted most students from the dormitories as the coronavirus spread through Pennsylvania. One student sat at a vacation home on the coast of Maine. Another struggled to keep her mother's Puerto Rican food truck running while meat vanished from Florida grocery store shelves. As one young woman's father, a private equity executive, urged the family to decamp to a country where infections were falling, another student's mother in Russia couldn't afford the plane ticket to bring her daughter home. Now Russia is about to close its borders, Sophie Chochaeva told her classmates in the days before the country did. She was one of the 135 students still on campus in a dorm room called the Cozy Foxhole, as the world outside became a ghost town. The crisis is exposing that a lot of people don't have anywhere to go. The outbreak of the coronavirus and the accompanying economic devastation that's left that's an old data, has put America's class divide on full display. Gig employees were the first to suffer, with many of their jobs vanishing without unemployment benefits. Office employees retreated to work-from-home arrangements while janitors cleaned the buildings they fled and delivery workers brought packages to their doorsteps. But college was meant to be different. For decades, small liberal arts schools like Haverford, a short ride from Philadelphia, prided themselves on being the great equalizer. No longer. Sorry for this wind. While her teammates vacationed from the lacrosse team or completed internships, Miss Lathion spent her summers helping her parents make empanadas on their Florida food truck. Her teammates discussed Christmas plans with their families. Miss Lathion revealed she was in Puerto Rico, staying with hers after a powerful earthquake. She would send texts to the team group chat and say, "Fifth day without power. Hope you're enjoying break." Damn. Okay, pushing ever onward. Opinion, New York Times, the most patriotic thing you can do right now. I'm curious to see what they're going to say it is. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The New York Times is actually framing an article beginning with "Our nation is rising, however imperfectly, to meet the challenge posed by the coronavirus pandemic." Holy shit, are they off base? And this is coming from the editorial board? Yo. I mean, okay, maybe thank you to the Americans, but not thank you to the government. Yo, what the actual. Alright, so I want to copy this. Open this link. Jesus, I can't believe they actually wrote that. Hey, editorial board. This article was terrible. Read the room. Jesus. Okay, opinion. Why does the US military celebrate white supremacy? It is time to rename bases for American heroes, not racist traitors. Also by the New York Times editorial board. So let's see how they do with this one. Yeah, I mean, Janos, you're probably correct there. We're almost out of the New York Times. Next, we move into the Wall Street Journal. Then we have Reuters. Then we have Al Jazeera. Then we're finishing with Bloomberg today. So it's going to be a long show today, everybody. I have 80 articles that I wanted to review. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 so far. So, why does the U.S. military celebrate white supremacy? The white supremacist who murdered 9 black churchgoers in Charleston 5 years ago dispensed with the fiction that the Confederate battle flag was an innocuous symbol of Southern pride. A murderer's manifesto described the killings as the start of a race war, combined with photos of the killer brandishing a pistol and a rebel flag, made it impossible to ignore the connection between Confederate ideology and a blood-drenched tradition of racial terrorism that dates back to the mid-19th century in the American South. Institutions that could have once wrapped themselves in Confederacy ideology without consequence were put on notice that the public sentiment had shifted. The Commandant of the United States Marine Corps tacitly deferred to this new reality last month by banning public display of the Confederate flag at Marine installations. General David H. Berger pointed out in a letter to his fellow Marines that the flag was being pushed out because it had, quote, the power to inflame feelings of division. However, he avoided references to racism or white supremacy, suggesting it was still justifiable for people of goodwill to view the Confederate banner as harmless expression of regional pride. Nevertheless, innocent intentions cannot obscure the truth that secessionists embarked on the Civil War to guarantee the rights of some human beings to own others, or the fact that the Confederate banner represents the same white supremacist values and is often displayed in tandem with the Nazi swastika. The federal embrace of the Jim Crow system undermined the country's readiness for war and destroyed morale, introducing black recruits to a brand of hardcore racism many had not experienced in civilian life. The federal government embraced pillars of the white supremacist movement when it named military bases in the South. Consider, for example, Fort Benning, Georgia, which honors a Confederate general, Henry Louis Benning, who devoted himself to the premise that African Americans were not really human and could never be trusted with full citizenship. Benning was widely influential in Southern politics and served on the Supreme Court of Georgia before turning his attention to the cause of secession. He told secession conventioneers in Virginia that his native state of Georgia had left the Union for one reason, to prevent the abolition of her slavery. Benning's statement strongly resembled that of present-day white supremacists. He warned that the abolition of slavery would one day lead to the horror of black governors, black legislatures, black juries, black everything. This, he opined, would place white womanhood at the mercy of African Americans with the same rights as white people. We will be completely exterminated, and the land will be left in the holy fuck. Jesus. The Army Surgeon General blew a kiss to racists in 1941 when he justified the Red Cross policy of segregating the wartime blood bank by donor race. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I was thinking of taking today off. Holy shit, is it gorgeous outside. There is not a cloud in the sky. It's supposed to hit mid-80s today. Wow. I mean, wow. I maybe later on this afternoon I'll go away from my parents' property by a mile or two and just do like a walking stream or something later on in the day. It is breathtakingly beautiful here right now. I'm very, very fortunate to have my parents have a piece of property like this. With unemployment expected to reach 20%, senators take a vacation. Final piece from the New York Times, final opinion piece by the editorial board. It's mostly claiming that senators take a vacation. I don't think we really need to read it. All right. No, my parents' land ends right here. Hello, Anastasia. Thank you so much for the donation the other day. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. My parents have between like 1 to 2 acres. So my stepfather bought this land back in the, I don't know, 70s maybe. Um, and I moved here in 1996, I think. Have I lived here since 96? Yeah, I think so. Holy shit, 24 years. More or less. Maybe it was 97. Wait, Wall Street Journal doesn't let me do dark mode? Really? Europe is subsidizing millions of paychecks. Companies want to keep it that way for now. European companies idled workers instead of firing them during coronavirus lockdowns, using state subsidies to cover their payrolls. Can I really not do dark mode on Wall Street Journal? I really appreciate everybody that's here for the show today. I think it's been a really good stream so far. Um, my mind feels charged and refreshed. Um, Moved to America in 1996. That's kind of exciting. Upcoming announcements. So on, oh wow, I have my camera is a little off today. I see. Whoops. I didn't know that I had two of those in the background. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Shit, I wanted to say something. Announcements. Um, Saturday, May 30th at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I will be joined by Andre Domis, Bleep Blomp Ben, aka Benjamin Carollo, and Silver L, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, to discuss the state of surveillance and data privacy. It's going to be about a 2-hour panel. We're going to be talking all things surveillance, all things NSA, all things Patriot Act, all things robot dogs, all things contract tracing. So I really highly encourage everybody to try to mark on your calendars, or at least catch the VOD. The VOD will be up and it'll also go on YouTube. That's 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, May 30th. Andre Domis, Bleat Blanc Ben, Silver L. Tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be talking to Rage Pope, who is some type of savant who just knows a shit ton of stuff about macro econ. It is. I think you might have to just type exclamation mark panel without the. You might have to type it without anything else. There, DJ. Robot dogs to enforce contract tracing is not cool. Not cool. Tonight, I'll be talking with Rage Pope at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have some questions about macroeconomic indicators and some data points. And tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I will be getting together with Canadian Populist Left and maybe SBTV underscore to do. I'm sorry, Richard Wolf, that I am stealing your terminology here, but you happen to have a great use on it, on an economic update. So 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night, Canadian Populist Left Touring News Economic Weekly Update, potentially joined by SBTV underscore. Tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Touring News and Rage Pope, macroeconomic indicators and what to expect moving forward into Q3. Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the state of surveillance and data privacy, Andre Domis, Silver L, Bleep Blomp Ben. I'm also James. Actually, this I was looking for one other person to join. So if you wanted to be a part of the intelligence panel on the weekend, there is space for one further person. If you didn't want to take the day off, I'm working on putting together a Middle Eastern panel as well. That's going to be with Dylan Burns, myself, and a couple other people, and we're going to try to cover the Lebanese debt crisis, the Syrian war, the Yemen civil war, the arms shipments that are being given through the executive order of Donald Trump to MBS, Prince MBS Mohammed bin Salman, that's been routing through, I think it's going through Kenya into Aden. And yeah, there are some good things on the horizon here. Sourcing support, you know me pretty well to say sometimes questions are best left unasked about, is resistance futile? I don't think that it is. We can't give up. I started off the stream today, Get Up, Stand Up, Don't Give Up the Fight by Bob Marley. So I would say we got to keep trying. And also, I have an article about how California is working harder against the surveillance state. So somewhere here today, we're going to come across an article about it. Shout out Act.tv. Shout out Sourcing Support. Shout out Dr. Bwinabwin. Shout out Unrelated Things. Shout out DJ NDN. Shout out Ellie Face. Shout out La Femme Fatale. Shout out the Cynthiad. Shout out the Captain's Log. So, wait a minute. Did anybody see that all Apple phones can be hacked? All Apple phones can be hacked. Did anybody catch this article? A couple days ago? Apple iOS 13.5 hacked. 0-day flaw exploited by iPhone jailbreakers. Now it would appear a well-known hacking group, the Uncover team, has not only found a 0-day vulnerability in the kernel itself, but has managed to exploit it in order to produce a working jailbreak. Working, that is, for iPhones and iPads running most, if not all, iOS versions from 11 onward. Anybody hear about this one? I don't know enough entirely about what this means, but did this come across anybody's radar 2 days ago? I'll link the article into the chat here. I have to sneeze. Shit. Oh, and I don't want to... sorry. I hope that wasn't horribly loud. One other thing to be leery of. Cutter makes everyone download an app. Qatar forces residents to install its coronavirus tracker or face the consequences. I think it's up to a $55,000 fine or 3 years in prison if you do not download the contact tracing app in Qatar. So, Apple's iOS update is here and it includes coronavirus contact tracing. Jesus. Also, Italy is looking for 80,000 people to spy. Well, to monitor social distancing. Italy looks for 80,000 60,000 people to monitor social distancing. Anybody hear about this one? Where did I read this? Can anybody find me that article about Italy? I find this so much more soothing than the Shed broadcasts. Yeah. Italy has. I'll try citizens. Well, here. Okay. So I found some article of it. 60,000 volunteers to work as social distancing monitors in Italy. Italy is planning to send out into the streets 60,000 volunteers to tell people to keep respecting social distancing rules. Now, I think they are supposed to wear something that designates what they're doing. I think they're supposed to wear a blue, like a little indicator that this is what they're doing. Yeah, they're supposed to, from what I remembered, they're supposed to wear a some kind of like marker or denotation. Okay, there it is. They will be called civic assistants and wear blue vests. They will be armed with the strength of persuasion, reason, and their smiles. Um, yeah. Well, this sounds like a terrible idea. Yeah, yeah, it does. However, man, please don't cancel me, everybody. Please don't cancel me. I just want to show you a photo of a California beach. Um, California Beach Memorial Day. This is what we're dealing with in the United States. So, is a little bit of volunteer work by citizens the worst idea? Listen, I understand everybody. We don't want to be like snitching on our neighbors, and we don't want to be putting people in jail for violating these things. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying, look at what we have to deal with here in the United States. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Am I being too charitable here in saying like, yeah, it's better than police, it's better than CIA, it's better than National Guard, it's better than sheriffs, it's better than. Oh well, no. So they're not snitching supposedly. Supposedly they're not snitching. Supposedly they're not taking and reporting back to people. They're not. Yeah, I didn't read anywhere that they're supposed to file citations or anything. From the way that I saw it, they're just supposed to say, "Oh, hi, excuse me. Yeah, I'm one of the civil volunteers that we have going around the country. We tried so long for 2 months to do this quarantine in order to try to provide like some health and safety for our nation, and if we fall back into our prior actions too quickly, all the hard work that we did and all the lives that were lost are going to be lost in vain." Um, wow, I'm sorry, Dr. HP. Good morning, Miss Rogers. So do you kind of see, I mean, maybe I'm being naive in the way that I'm trying to frame it, and maybe slash probably it's going to be co-opted, and maybe slash probably They're eventually going to have to write up reports and like fine people and such. In the way that I see it, in my concept, I mean, I just, what are we going to do about this, everybody? What are we going to do? Good morning to you as well. I don't believe we've met before. Oh, we have met before. Bleep Blomp Ben. I've been telling everybody about our panel. Brento Box. Good morning. Wait, what the hell? Brento. It's 6:17 a.m. What are you doing up? Yeah, I'll say. Damn, well, welcome to the stream. I really appreciate it. Alright, so, to be honest, I think volunteers are going to get attacked. I actually agree with this. I'm doing well, thank you. Everybody is saying it's a bad idea. Just put up posters. Posters are going to get taken down. Or the anti-vaxxers are going to put their posters up. But I hear you. So thank you, everybody. I have a little bit of a lib take on this one. I appreciate it. I thank you for not outright canceling me, and I thank you for helping me walk through this, or think through this. What I've realized is I have been semi-forged in the fire by developing a lot of my politics positions and ideology in front of a camera. I've now broadcast 2,400 hours on Twitch in 15 months, and in that time, you really, really learn a lot about yourself. So, I don't know that answer, Spooky. Damn, Kazbox. People are shooting clerks at Dollar General for discussing masks. Volunteers will get mauled by angry mobs of faux patriots. Okay, so big important thing. Big important thing. I am not saying that the United States can have these volunteers. I'm hoping that Italy is a little bit more civilized than the United States, and it can work in a nation such as Italy. I do not think that a program like this has any type of ability to work in the United States. But I'm hoping that a nation that exhibits a little bit more solidarity like Italy might be able to to responsibly handle something like this. So I'm not saying we can copy pasta this and bring it to the States. You know, do you kind of, yeah, so I'm not saying this is going to work here. I think that you'll get decked if you do it here. Okay, back to where we were. That was a good little detour, side tangent. We have a lot more work to do. We're here. These are all the articles that we have left to get to today. So, AKA, we have not made a lot of progress yet. You know what? Maybe I'll try it sometime. Maybe someday, if I get brave and bold enough to go out and actually, no, I'm not. Never mind. Sorry, everybody. Never mind. Sorry. Forget that stupid idea of momentary heroism and bravery. I'm not going out in public in the United States until I go to an airport to fly to another country. That's pretty much what I said back in March, and that's pretty much my same stance still today. The next time I'm in public, I will be wearing some type of respirator mask going to an airport, and I'm going to have it hooked up with like an internal water delivery system, and I will be getting on a plane to go to another country. So, sorry everybody, I had a momentary piece of heroism and bravery. It was not real. Okay. Come to New Zealand. I have never been to New Zealand, and I would love to visit. Where would I go? The most likely destinations at the moment right now are Thailand, Vietnam, or Portugal. If I had enough money and if I could just go anywhere. Um, yeah, I'm not exactly saying that I can leave. Um, However, it would be nice to be able to. Well, there's plenty of them in the United States too. Okay. Europe is subsidizing millions of paychecks. Companies want to keep it that way. James, are you streaming today? Act.tv? Hell yeah. Okay. Europe's strategy of placing tens of millions of workers on paid leave has so far succeeded in stemming the widespread job losses that have been seen in the United States, but now governments across the continent are grappling with how to wean companies and workers off the support. The programs were originally intended as a stopgap. European companies idled workers instead of firing them, using billions in state subsidies to cover their payrolls until they were ready to reopen for business. Now the governments have lifted their lockdowns, however, many businesses are calling on governments to keep the money flowing for months to come. The demands are heaviest in industries such as tourism and entertainment, where the virus poses an existential threat. A restaurateur is expecting her flagship Guignette along the banks of the Loire River to operate at somewhere between 30 to 50% capacity while ratcheting up spending on hand sanitizer and protective equipment. We'll have less clients, so that means we won't need to pay as many employees. We just want to create a bridge. For many governments, the matter boils down to whether they are funding a bridge to nowhere. I didn't. Link it to me, Spooky. If European firms become hooked on subsidies, it'll be a costly addiction. France has so far spent 24 billion to fund Europe's biggest paid leave program for 2 months, supporting more than half of the country's entire private sector workforce. In Germany, which now pays up to 87% of a worker's salary, up from 67%, three-quarters of a million businesses indicated they would put as many as 10.1 million workers on subsidized leave by April 26th, more than 3 times the level at the height of the financial crisis. Unlike major economies on the continent, the United Kingdom didn't have a paid leave program in place when the pandemic hit. Applications for the coronavirus job retention scheme opened on the 20th of April, and by the 11th of May, it was paying 80% of wages of 7.5 million workers at 935,000 businesses. They extended the program's termination date to October from June, recognizing that businesses would need help for longer than hoped. Ever onward. Opinion, Global View, Wall Street Times. Matt Taibbi asked. Oh, really? Oh, shit. That was yesterday, wasn't it, Kezbox? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I forgot about it. Did it go acceptably well? I completely forgot. Do you have the tweet? Oh. If you've had a site removed from Facebook or YouTube in recent weeks, I'm interested to hear from you. Yeah, that doesn't entirely apply. Um, all right. Hell yeah, Casbox. That's pretty good. Okay. A disruptive president in a storm of crisis. Trump thrives on conflict, but may pay a price for alienating America's allies. By Walter Russell Mead. Wall Street Journal opinion. Oh. Nice, James. Hello, Ashley Luna. Happy day to you. Okay, an oil tanker from Iran docked. Interesting language here. All right, so this guy is really not afraid to throw in the language. Docked in Venezuela. North Korea is making noises about doubling down on the nuclear program. China has defied Western pressure over Hong Kong. For Trump, restoring American economic growth involves fighting what he sees as an profoundly unfair global trading system and the major abuses of that system by both adversaries like China and friends like Germany, India, South Korea, Japan. Alright, not too much from that one. U.S. GOP considers back to work bonuses. Plan from Senator Portman would offer $450 a week in place of extension of enhanced jobless benefits. Goals. One idea is a proposal from Senator Rob Portman to provide a temporary $450 a week bonus for unemployed workers returning to work on top of their wages. He says the proposal is good for employees because they can go back to work, go back to their health care. Jesus. Oh shit, I forgot to talk about that. Somebody linked me an article that the Chinese military advanced potentially 3 miles into the Ladakh region of India. Yeah, can somebody get me a good article on the Chinese encroachment on the Ladakh region, Ladakh, please? Thank you. Go back to their retirement savings and yet get a nice bonus for doing so. The proposal also saves taxpayer money and saves small businesses from going out of business because they can get workers. Plan is still being finalized in part to work out the best mechanism for delivering the aid to workers. The proposal would give $450 a week to laid off workers to go back to work through July 31st, the same date on which the extra $600 a week in unemployment benefits expires. The idea would also help states save money by potentially reducing their expenditures on unemployment benefits. Mr. Portman's office settled on the amount by surveying benefits and wages in each state to come up with an average amount by which most people would be better off working than staying at home. The Fed minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, meaning the minimum wage worker in states without a higher minimum or floor makes $290 a week. The $450 each week on top of that was designed with such low-wage workers in mind in order to leave employees better off than taking the $600 a week to stay at home. This stands as an alternative to a measure being pushed by Senate Dems, who are rallying behind plans led by Werner, Sanders, and Blumenthal and Jones. The Democratic plan relies on a wage subsidy, the employee tax credit, to keep people on payrolls. It would cover 100% of wages and benefits up to $90K. Some Dems say they might be open to ending the $600 in extra jobless benefits if Republicans rally behind a wage subsidy. No Democrat contacted by the Wall Street Journal indicated that they would endorse Mr. Portman's back-to-work bonus plan. When the government... Oh, here comes Rand Paul. Wait for it, everybody. When the government wage exceeds the market wage, you'll get institutionalized unemployment. So it was a mistake to make it so high to begin with. It would be a mistake to extend it. Shocker there. House Democrats have already voted to extend the $600 a week and additional payments for 6 more months until the 31st of January. Good article that got linked in here. Is there any chance that we make it through all these stories today? They're going to have to start getting shorter if we're going to make it. I like that, Andre, sourcing support. I'm walking inside to get a bagel. I need something to eat. Interesting, Ben. Wall Street Journal opinion. The liberal-leaning media has passed its tipping point. A return to balance would be commercially unviable. The best solution may be an honest embrace of bias. I don't even know if I really want to read this article. I'm going to read this one on my own. Well, no, we'll go through it. It's short enough. Okay, next. As its economy slows, China embraces a weaker currency. Chinese leaders have said that they want to hold the yuan fairly steady. China set a reference rate for the yuan at its weakest point in 12 years, as it sees the benefit of a weaker currency as it grapples with an economic slowdown. They set it at 7.12 per dollar, the lowest level since February 2008. Ms. Peng said the yuan could fall as low to 7.3 a dollar by the end of the year if there was a full-blown trade and tech war. A different person said up to 7.60. Tax credit for keeping workers on payroll draws bipartisan interest. Lawmakers seek to expand a wage subsidy along small business aid and unemployment insurance to help amid the coronavirus pandemic. The $3 trillion package passed by the House this month features an expanded wage subsidy known as the Employee Retention Tax Credit. It would add $194 billion to a $55 billion tax credit created in March. The subsidy offers an alternative to the payroll tax cut Trump is seeking, and Republican supporters prefer the subsidy to spending programs favored by the Dems. The House plan would give employers enough money to cover up to 80% of their wages and benefits, up to $45K per worker, plus a credit for fixed expenses like rent. Eligible companies would simply keep taxes withheld from employees' paychecks. They could get additional money from the IRS. Smaller businesses would get the subsidy for all workers, while larger ones would only get it for furloughed workers still receiving wages or benefits. Is their channel showing up live on the sidebar? The tax credit or subsidy is more efficient than the payroll tax touted by President Trump proponents say because aid would be limited to companies hurt or closed by the downturn and because the incentive for each affected worker would be larger. It's on mobile. Damn, Brento Box, thank you for staying into the channel for a very long time. And good morning, Canadian Populist Left. The credit would be available in some fashion to employers of all sizes. It's a cost-effective way to do it. The tax credit also avoids a disincentive to work, a criticism aimed at the $600 a week supplemental jobless benefits. We're already in a Cold War with China. Exclamation mark PayPal. Yeah, I found you, CPL. A standalone tax credit bill proposed by Ms. Delbane and Representative Stephanie Murphy, largely incorporated into the House package, has support from 6 House Republicans. Senate Dems, led by Mark Warner, have proposed an even larger version that would offer up to 100% of wages and benefits.
'Cause you're a good dude.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you very much, Kezbox. I appreciate that deeply. Thank you very, very much. A $10 donation. Hell yeah. Thank you so much. Whoops, did I... Shit, did I... Yeah, I screwed up. Okay. The House's expanded credit responds to employers' complaints about the existing rules. The credit rate would increase from a maximum of 50 to 80% of wages and benefits. Under the House plan, the credit would rise to cover $45K of wages and benefits instead of the $10K offered now. State and local governments which aren't now covered would qualify too. That's good. The threshold for small employers was raised to 1,500 employees in the House bill. What am I then? I only employ one person. Wait, for real, Memo? Damn. Let me know if there's some way that I can help you. Well, there's not. I don't. Yeah, there's nothing I can do for you, except say, that's fucked. I actually have an article that there's still money in the PPP program. There's an article up here somewhere that it hasn't all been used yet. United States moves to audit Chinese firms. Markets fret over what comes next. Investors worry proposed legislation will further inflame tensions between Beijing and Washington. Dave Michaels, Akane Otani. Banks advising Chinese domiciled companies in the United States stock market have earned more than $128 million in fees this year. China has never given U.S. regulators routine access to audit records needed to review the quality of financial accounting. Covers 200 companies with a total market value exceeding $1.4 trillion. They've been willing to overlook the regulatory gap as they snapped up shares, including Alibaba, that made their debuts on the U.S. exchanges. Wall Street banks, which underwrote the stock sales and are supposed to conduct the due diligence, have been rewarded with more than $1.4 billion in fees. As long as they make their money. China says sharing audit work papers would violate its sovereignty and risk leaking state secrets. In one of the dirtiest, darkest stories of the day, Merck does deals to develop coronavirus vaccines. Drug maker is buying a privately held Austrian company to obtain one vaccine, joining with other groups on a second vaccine and an antiviral. It's acquiring an experimental vaccine as part of the purchase of its Austrian maker, while partnering in the development of another. Yeah, exactly. Bleep blop. And I encourage everybody to look at Project Aura, AURA. This was why we don't have any ventilators in the United States. Project Aura. I think that's what it's called. More people are taking drugs for anxiety and insomnia, and doctors are worried. As coronavirus, health concerns, social isolation, and job loss, stress take a toll. People turn to medications that can quickly become a habit. Prescriptions for anti-anxiety, such as Klonopin and Ativan, rose 10.2% in the United States to 9.7 million in March 2020, from 8.8 million in March 2019. Holy shit. 900,000 more people are being prescribed Klonopins or Ativan. Antidepressants are up 9.2% as well. Jesus. I'm sure alcoholism is up also. Sleep medications and antidepressants are up 14.8% and 18.6%. Jesus. Oh, wait. You're not going to let me read this? There's a Wall Street Journal Pro? Wait. There's a Wall Street Journal behind the one that I already pay for? $31 a month. Yo. Jeez, these people. What happens if I do this? Well. Did that work? No. Damn, Larry. If you ever need anything, just send me a DM. Alright, so... What is it? Sci-Hub? Is this gonna do it? No. Can anybody open this article for me and send it to me? Yeah, can somebody find a way to get this article for me? I need some help. Western economies see the biggest slump since the financial crisis. Yeah, we probably don't have to read much about this. We know most of this. Most of this we know. The UN estimated that output loss this year and next as a result of the pandemic will amount to 8.5 trillion. All right, nothing really there. Coronavirus further strains the United Kingdom Union already under pressure. England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are emerging at different speeds. On Discord, Anubis? Thank you. Why can't I, like... Oh, okay. It came up in a notepad. Alright, thanks. Cool. California... shit. Let me do this, and then let me do... California privacy and civil liberties advocates are mobilizing to thwart a bill backed by Microsoft that would regulate facial recognition technology, and that is working its way through the state legislature. Supporters of the legislation say it will impose much-needed guardrails on nascent tools that could grow in prominence if business and authorities start using the tech to respond to the coronavirus, but activists argue the legislation will open the door for expanded surveillance in the public and private sectors. It's a bill being sold as a privacy bill, but it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. ACLU, EFF, and other civil liberties held a virtual rally Thursday night to rail against the bill, calling it vaguely worded and potentially dangerous for low-income communities. Remarks were the latest shots to halt at the bill's fate in California, which has pushed for aggressive privacy protections in recent years, could foreshadow a potentially huge market for facial recognition technology if regulated by other states. Can I zoom out of this a little? Yeah. Ooh, geez. This is a hard article to read. Damn. The bill calls for companies and agencies that use facial recognition tools in areas to the public to provide a conspicuous and contextually appropriate notice that faces may get scanned. The legislation also allows companies and agencies using the technology to store images of faces in databases for future use if they obtain consent, though there is an exception of when a security or safety purpose is involved. That'd be barred by the bill for ongoing surveillance unless that use is in the support of law enforcement. No! And is supported by a search warrant or just... No, I don't like this at all. Alright, thank you for this. Video capture device, delete. Ah, wait, why did that happen? What the... Oh, no, whoops. I wanted to do display capture delete. There we go. I am at my parents' house. Alright, everyone. We are making progress. Not really all that quickly. But we're getting there. Okay. In Northern Ireland, the National Assembly is based on a power-sharing pact between unionists favouring continued association with the UK and Irish nationalist parties. The Three Nations aren't the only authorities pushing back against Westminster. Some local officials, led by the main opposition Labour Party, said they won't reopen schools next month. It seems unlikely that Britain's union would suddenly crumble. The COVID crisis, while highlighting hodgepodge governments, also reinforced a key element holding the UK together: financial support from England. England makes up around 85% of the population in the UK. Poorer parts of the Union, especially Wales, are likely to face an outsized economic hit from the pandemic. Wait, no, I support body cameras for cops. I support body cameras. I don't support facial recognition going into the body cameras. Yeah, I think it's very important to make um, police wear body cameras. And on lobbyists too. Yeah, I'm with that too. Yeah, I'm with Memo for the record here too. Oh yeah, I know that it get. Yeah, we have to get better access to it, but yeah. Okay, pushing onward because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it through all these today. I don't even know if we're halfway. Are we? No. Jeez. Second fuel tanker from Iran arrives in Venezuela. Cooperation with Iran is seen as a lifeline for Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, and Cuba also benefits. They're carrying 1.5 million barrels of gasoline. It docked. We are two revolutionary peoples that are never going to kneel before North American imperialism, said Mr. Maduro. Well said. There was also a tanker that docked in Cuba as well, it seems. Hong Kong in shock as China's Xi Jinping goes for the nuclear option. New security legislation reveals Chinese leaders' willingness to alter the city's special status. With his plan to impose sweeping anti-sedition legislation, Chinese leader Xi Jinping has revealed a willingness to alter the one-time colony status. In the future, Beijing will not only control the administration of Hong Kong, but its ideology. China has said it would allow its secret police and other security agencies to operate openly in Hong Kong for the first time as part of its still unclarified new enforcement measures that will accompany new security rules. Honestly, the American left, some of them should move to Hong Kong and agitate within Hong Kong both for US left policies and to try to save Hong Kong. I don't think that China is willing to crack down on 10,000 American dissidents and arrest them. I can't imagine that Xi Jinping is foolish enough to arrest 10,000 Americans. So, if there are 10,000 rich left-leaning individuals in the United States, I encourage you to fly to Hong Kong and to protest. Well, do I really want to like push us closer to a third world war? I don't know. Would it justify it, or would it mean that it would be like a standoff? you know, 6-1. It could go both ways. I do, Chena Cuba. Yeah, I probably just popped up on the Chinese radar by saying that too. But you live and you learn. China has already exerted authority over journalists entering Hong Kong, previously the responsibility of city immigration officials. In March, Beijing kicked a group of American journalists out of mainland China, including reporters from the Wall Street Journal, and banned them from Hong Kong as well. I'm telling you, everyone, the Yemeni people are struggling like Hong Kong, but doesn't get the media attention. Well, because we're funding the weapons that go there. Or we're selling the weapons that go there. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, Memo. I'm just saying the reality of it. I have not, Miss Rogers. Some beautiful finches out here on the bird feeder. Well, I think that it's okay to focus on both. It would be my position. I try to focus on both. Meowmageddon. Interesting. I wonder if you're trying to say that no Hong Kong protesters have been killed yet, and you're trying to claim that that's a fake news part. But I'm curious to see what your next is. Comment. Benjamin Netanyahu goes on the offensive the day after his corruption trial opens. The Israeli prime minister cites wolves who are after him. Critics, supporters both rally outside of his home. He has successfully convinced many in the public that the court is intervening in an election and it's not really about the cases that he faces charges in. Israeli prosecutors have more than 300 witnesses, including 3 who are former close Netanyahu associates. They've agreed to testify against him in exchange for ameliorating their own legal troubles. Keep an eye on it. What history tells us about the accelerating AI revolution. I doubt that there's much use to this article. Companies' financial planning comes up short in the coronavirus era. Shocker. Uncertainty surrounding the pandemic has rendered... Wait, careful corporate planning exercises useless? Yo, fuck off. I'm not reading any of this dribble. Compliance layoffs, budget cuts raise prospect of looser internal oversight. Compliance officers may have to reprioritize to accommodate smaller budgets, experts say. Oh, great. Yeah, let's not pay as close of attention. Jeez. Alright, we got that. Hey, we actually made some progress here. Okay. Good talk about the Hong Kong thing. I see that there are some people in disagreements with one another. Interesting. Special report: Jair Bolsonaro brought in his generals to fight the coronavirus. Brazil is losing the battle. How many stories do we have left? One, two. We might make it. I think that we might be able to make it. We're about halfway through. Oh, actually, well, I don't know. I know a lot of these Al Jazeera stories are long. I've been to the United Kingdom. I stayed in Watford, northwest London. The only reason that I would go back to the UK would be to go to Anfield. I'm a Liverpool supporter. When Brazil's first coronavirus was confirmed on the 26th of February, the health ministry had been preparing for nearly 2 months. Its personnel were running models to estimate when and how to implement stay-at-home orders in collaboration with state and local officials. The people who spoke with Reuters said things began to unravel along two main fronts: Bolsonaro's opposition to shutdown, favored by the health ministry, and the government's inability to scale up testing quickly. Shortly after the new guidelines were issued on the 13th of March, Kuroda said he got a call from his former boss, Health Surveillance Secretary Wanderson Oliveira, who said he was under a lot of pressure from Casa Civil and had to change the communique. Within 24 hours, the ministry changed the recommendations. It removed guidance on self-quarantines for travelers and the cancellation of cruises, saying they were up for a review. So Bolsonaro took power, fired the health ministry, gave power to the military, and failed his country. Coronavirus spreads in Brazil's oil fields as 5 offshore operators register cases. Oliveira? Okay, thank you. United States brings forward a travel ban as Brazil surpasses a horrible toll. Wait, their daily death toll? More people are dying in Brazil every day than are dying in the United States. Oh my god. Fears of coronavirus second wave prompt a flu push at U.S. pharmacies and drug makers. They're preparing a big push for flu vaccinations when the season kicks off, hoping to curb tens of thousands of serious cases that would coincide with a second wave of coronavirus. U.S. small firms leave $150 billion in coronavirus stimulus untapped. Aloe vera? Oh, okay. Well, I don't think it would be aloe vera. Onward though. Excuse me. This one is strange to me. This sounds odd. I actually just saw something that I wonder would look kind of cool on the camera. I want to try something with my camera here real quick. Video capture device, properties, configure video, brightness. I wonder, can this be done? It can. It can actually be done. I can kind of sit here in anonymity and do this and give you all the beautiful green background. And I can kind of just be like the person behind the... Oh, wow. I actually really, really enjoy this. I kind of really enjoy being able to hide away from everything, yet still be here. I'm not going to leave it this way, but it, I like this anonymity. Well, you know how I feel about that, Rage Pope. I think that I've been a part of the dark web for a while. Um, Man, this is very comfortable though. I much more enjoy this than I enjoy being on camera. All right, I'll come back. I'll come back. 'United States small firms leave 150 billion in coronavirus stimulus untapped. When the U.S. government first rolled out forgivable loans to small businesses in early April under the Paycheck Protection Program, loan officers worked nights and weekends to process a tsunami of applications. On the 15th of May, the bank stopped taking applications. Demand has just dried up, said bank president. All told, the SBA says it approved 512 billion in PPP loans, 150 billion less than the 660 billion allocated to the program. Many of Bank of the West PPP borrowers haven't touched their loan deposits. I think it's a mixture of uncertainty and anxiety and fear and the uncontrollable factor about employment and rehiring. Hmm. 55% of members who were PPP borrowers were worried about loan forgiveness. Do I sympathize with the people protesting about wanting to get back to work? If they're doing it in good faith and they just need to get back to provide for their families, then yeah, I do. I mean, our government hasn't really provided people the the best of opportunities. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, people just don't want to starve. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, if it's in good faith, um, like you know, I don't know how many there are that are that way, but I would imagine small business owners with about 10 to 15 employees or less, or like certain, like there are some cases that, you know, they just don't know what to do. So I think that they're misguided in their protests, but you know, they don't want to starve, and they don't want, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Hi, Geek with Glasses. Shout your channel out if you'd like to. Sorry, I'm sorry, James. Geek with Glasses. That was very demanding and forceful of me. If you'd like to shout your channel out, you can. Um, yeah, sorry about that. I got a little overzealous there. We're gonna make it, everybody. We might make it. Damn. I really feel lucky that I kind of just get to. Oh, my dad even came into the channel this morning. Hello, good morning. Oh no, shout yours out too, Kez. I'm sorry. I'll do that one for you. Shit. See? I'm just horrible. I really kind of feel um, blessed, lucky, fortunate that I kind of get to broadcast to so many streamers in the morning. Um, like, I'm looking in the viewership right now. There's Dr. Bwinabwin, Memo for the Record, OG Prodigy, Sourcing Support, Unrelated Things, Canadian Populist Left, DJ NDN, Ellie Face, Hollywood 6977. Oh, sorry, never mind. La Femme Fatale, The Cynthiad, Brento Box was in here, Bleep Blomp Ben was here, Starry Z1 was here, Miss Rogers Live was here, Maxwell underscore Corrigan was here, Kezbox was here, Punk Psy was here, Rage Pope is here, Geek with Glasses TV is here, Substance Jane is here. Um, Act.tv was here. Hollywood 6977. Yeah, Rage Pope and I are talking tonight at 6 p.m. Is it 6 p.m., Rage Pope? Is that what we agreed to? 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for an econ chat between Rage Pope and myself? Cool. How about next June? Small meat processors backlogged as virus idles big plants. Shauna Zonker yawns with exhaustion as she listens to yet another farmer asking her to slaughter their pigs. Small-scale slaughterhouses account for a minuscule part of the market. 1% of American hogs or less are processed at small scales. People are going mad to try to fill their freezers, they say. Panic buying is happening. A lot of panic buying. It's going to be a dark winter, everybody. China's coronavirus campaign offers glimpse into a surveillance system. I hope everybody has liked the selection of stories that I picked for today. I actually woke up before stream this morning and I put in about like a half hour to 45 minutes to find all these articles to cover. I've been slacking on doing the pre-production because I've been waking up too late. But I really tried to get up this morning and get like something together. So I think it's been a very good overview of the international news of the day. And if there are things that I'm missing so far, go ahead and link them in. So, monitoring stations are rebranded epidemic war rooms, helping check people's movements and stifle the disease. China's trying to build the world's most sophisticated surveillance tech networks with hundreds of millions of cameras in public places and increasing use of techniques such as smartphone monitoring and facial recognition. Yes, it does, Tarod. Was Cummings the person who went like 200 some miles away to jog or something? Or 240 miles round trip or something like that? I don't know. I heard a little bit of it, but I didn't look into it. While authorities have primarily used mobile location data and ID linked tracing apps to flag people coming back from abroad for quarantine, the camera surveillance system has played a crucial role. Known as grid members, they sit in monitoring rooms or squint over small phone feeds from the networks of cameras. The type of surveillance is far more human driven than it is tech driven. In Donghan village in Hubei, the province where the coronavirus emerged last year, grid member Liu Ganyi saw 6 villagers gathering without masks, so he called authorities. Village cadres rushed to the scene to disperse the crowd and educate the people. County system cost 5.6 million and included more than 4,400 cameras. Within 2 minutes, the villagers returned to their homes. Loudspeakers. Oh, I have to sneeze again. Sorry. It carries this perception that someone is watching you, and that moderates people's behavior and shifts people's thinking over time. Jesus. Germany stamps the authority on Lufthansa with a $9.8 billion lifeline, giving the government a 20% stake, which could rise to 25% plus one share in the event of a takeover attempt, as it seeks to protect thousands of jobs. Germany's central government has spent decades offloading stakes in companies, but remains a large shareholder in former state monopolies such as Deutsche Post and Deutsche Telekom, and a 15% holding in Commerzbank. When the company is fit again, the state will sell its stake, and hopefully with a small profit that puts us into a position to finance the many, many requirements which we have to meet now, not only at this company. The Bank of Japan to pump nearly 16 billion to the economy via a loan scheme. Amount doubles on the new incentive. The amount offered to financial institutions was nearly double that of the previous auction. 3-month loans will be delivered to financial institutions. It's extending zero interest loans to financial institutions in the hope that they'll use the money to boost lending to pandemic hit firms. But that never happens. It never trickles down. Money that goes into the financial sector never makes it out of the financial sector. Come on. This should be taught as like Econ 101. China's Xi Jinping urges preparedness for the military combat amid coronavirus epidemic on state TV. They would step up their preparedness for armed combat and improve its ability to carry out military tasks. Well, tech companies target temperature monitoring patches for COVID-19. They're working on a patch about the size of a small bandage that could be worn to monitor for the elevated body temperatures that can sometimes signal the onset of COVID-19. I love how all these people are trying to like nano chip people when they're conveniently forgetting that it's like 30 to 40% of COVID cases appear to be asymptomatic at the moment. I cared about the environment. Why do I think that is? On which one? Wait, which oh, why like it never trickles down? I thought that I give like a little commentary on the articles, or I try to at least. Um, which one are you referring to? Good morning, Paul. Oh, the Xi telling the military to be ready to fight. Um, I mean, I would probably say that Xi Jinping is a pretty decent military tactician, military strategist, and overall, like, just he's good at being a dictator. He understands, well, he understands total power domination, and he wants it. um, I mean, they might be getting ready to roll into Hong Kong if needed, if they're moving like the secret police into Hong Kong. I know there's escalating tensions in Taiwan. I saw Rage Pub doing a tabletop simulation of military excursions into Taiwan. I know there's a battle for territory in the South China Sea. U.S. military has sent naval fleets into Taiwanese waters, which has drawn the ire of the Chinese. Um, A group of tech companies is working on a patch about the size of a small bandage that could be worn to monitor for the elevated body temperatures that can sometimes signal the onset of COVID-19. Be powered by a specially designed microchip that will be made in Minnesota at a chip factory operated by Skywater Technology in collaboration with Ohio-based chip design firm Linear ASICs. It's intended to be worn on the skin to connect remotely to a smartphone to monitor a person's body temperature. I don't like that either. Did I do okay? Memo for the record? There's a very large bumblebee flying around me now. As Chinese authorities expand the use of health tracking apps, privacy concerns grow. China health tracking QR codes, which have played a key part in the successful containment of the coronavirus, or so they claim, now looks set to play a much broader role in daily life as local authorities dream up new uses for the technology. Okay, so I want to bring up something that is actually like useful. Why does my microphone keep like having problems? I wonder if this cable's going bad. So something that is useful about this QR code stuff is I've heard that some restaurants in Japan are having their waiters hold out a QR code for the patrons, or the wait staff, sorry. Hold out QR codes for the customers. That way they can just scan it and they don't have to, have menus and disinfect and all that kind of stuff. So that's like one use of QR codes that I think could be useful. You said trickle down doesn't work. Have I considered that they know it doesn't work and do it anyway? I think there is a very large minority that know it doesn't work and that continue to try it. But I also think that there is a small majority that still believes it will, can, and is going to work. Um, so, I mean, it's a really difficult speculative question. Yeah, I mean, Memo, yeah, hard to say, Memo. Um, Catch me on one of my more doomer days, and I'll say they all know it doesn't work. But I'm outside today, so maybe I'm a little bit optimistic. Um, if there is anybody out there that has somehow not been horribly financially impacted by all this stuff, um, this is the way that I maintain my income. So if anybody wants to make a small deposit into my PayPal account, it is very, very much appreciated. Thank you. Yeah, they do. Yeah, exactly. QR is, yeah, they do everything over there. Embedded in the popular WeChat and Alipay smartphones, the codes use self reported and automatically collected travel and medical data. Oh my god. Everybody. This is why, well, okay, so, memo. This is kind of why I say we have to go save Hong Kong in some type of way, because of things like this. Embedded in the popular WeChat and Alipay smartphone apps, the codes use self reported and automatically collected travel and medical data to give people a red, yellow, or green rating indicating the likelihood of having the virus. So I'll try to explain why I say we have to go save Hong Kong. We also have to go save Yemen. Don't think that I'm not saying we don't have to go save Yemen. As bad as the United States surveillance system is, I actually think the Chinese system might be worse. And I think that if you look at a person, I'm going to go on a little monologue here. If you look at American politics, we almost got Bernie Sanders to get the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who back in the 1970s and even semi recently has had positions of abolishing the CIA and dismantling major aspects of the surveillance state. So, my analysis is that the United States is still somewhat salvageable, and aspects of the surveillance state can still be dismantled with, I mean, basically just throwing our bodies onto the machine and hoping that a couple of us make it out through the other end. Um, but I do not think that without international coordinated effort led by the U.S. dismantling aspects of the Five Eyes, NSA, CIA, and other secretive organizations, there cannot be a safe route to try to dismantle the Chinese surveillance apparatus. I do not want open war with China. I do not want land war with China. I do not want air war with China. So the only way to get them to respect, like, I guess, humanitarian rights of their peoples would be a global combined effort to push back against it. Did I get my position across? All right, I will do that, Maxwell. I'll give you the admin privileges after the stream. Birds are going crazy right now. To walk around freely, people in China must have a green rating, and since February, they've been asked to present their health QR codes to gain entry into restaurants, parks, and other venues. Jesus. The codes had so far been met with little public resistance, seen as a necessary tool to get the economy back up on its feet again. Or that was the case until the eastern city of Guangzhou proposed on Friday permanently assigning each of its residents a colored health badge and giving them a score from 0 to 100 based on their medical records and lifestyle habits. Images published in Guangzhou's health authorities showed people would be rated on how much they exercised, their eating and drinking habits, whether they smoked, and even how much they slept the night before. That was seen as far too invasive, setting off a firestorm of criticism from thousands of users on Weibo, fueling a debate about privacy and data security. God damn. I don't know. Am I supposed to have one, Brishy? The United States ban on new offshore drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, proposed by Joe Biden, they are claiming would lead to hundreds of thousands of job losses and billions in government revenue over the 20 years. Okay, so we just did a $6.7 trillion program. What are a couple billions? Pay the workers 5 years of pay and give them a scholarship to do either trade school work or community college work or public university work. Or research, I should say. All right, I am gonna take just a stretch, and go walk for a quick minute. It's my parents' house. It's my parents' house. Yeah, I didn't. I don't know. What was I gonna do with a day off? Read newspapers by myself? Oh. I would have gotten bored by 8 a.m. See you later, Larry Weird. I'm just in socks. I don't have anything else on. Yeah, well, I've got this on, but yeah, socks. I don't really wear, I guess, sneakers all that much around here. Global drive for the coronavirus vaccine tops 10 billion. So we're getting there, everyone. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35 more articles to try to get through. Jeez. Global drive for the coronavirus vaccine tops 10 billion. The European Union says global campaign to fund the development of vaccines and therapies has raised 10.4 billion. I mean, this is just mostly good news. Yeah, my stepfather just mowed the lawn yesterday. New normal. Indonesian army set to enforce COVID-19 measures. Some 340,000 officers across Indonesia, tasked with ensuring people observe rules issued to slow the coronavirus spread. Kind of terrifying to roll in the military to do this stuff, everyone. I really hope there's not a day where the U.S. military gets rolled around the nation to do this. Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that, Vegarani. Vegarani, it seems to me that you don't follow the channel when I click on your name, and that's cool if you don't want to follow it. I 100% understand. Um, but I think that you like the channel, so you may like to click the follow button. And if there's anybody else out there that has not followed the channel, go ahead and click onto that. Yeah, Memo, for the record, good points there. I mean, I do have some golf clubs up here. I've thought about like playing some bocce ball, for people, but 8,000 excess deaths in Mexico City as coronavirus rages, says a study. Magazine Nexos has counted 39,000 fatalities until May 20th, a sharp increase compared with the previous 4 years. Mexico's capital registered 8,072 more deaths in the first 5 months this year than the average of the same period over the previous 4 years. I know a big problem around the world right now is people are afraid to go to the hospital to get treated because they're afraid of becoming infected with COVID 19. It's fair to call it a guilt trip. It was a targeted message to one individual that didn't follow the channel. Nice, Casbox. Yeah. So if you feel too targeted, I apologize, Vegarani. The WHO says South America is now the new coronavirus epicenter. Burkina Faso, the devastating impact of attacks on education. Surge in armed groups' attacks on schools in recent years deprives 350,000 students access to education, says the Human Rights Watch. Even before the gunmen arrived, the students and teachers were already gripped by fear. We were already living in psychosis, recounted an employee at a middle school in the village of Tulf, located in the part of northern Burkina Faso where educational facilities were increasingly coming under attack. The students were constantly looking out the window. They saw when the men arrived that day. They started screaming, jumping out of the windows, running. He took a paper out of his pocket and asked us to transmit it to the Barkanabe authorities. The message said that they no longer want any French education in Soum or Larum provinces. The attackers then forced 5 school employees, the principal, 2 teachers, and administrators out of the classrooms and offices. Some of the children who didn't manage to escape burst into tears as they watched the men castigate and beat the staff. They set the school ablaze. Since 2017 estimates and before the nationwide closure in March, 2,500 schools have been closed in Burkina Faso, negatively impacting 350,000 students and 11,200 teachers. It's also said that armed groups allied with Al-Qaeda or ISIL and have burned, looted, and destroyed dozens of schools. Last year, there was a 6-fold increase in school closures as part of a surge in violence between Burkina Faso security forces and the armed groups, which resulted in a flood of displacement. 830,000 people have been forced to flee their homes due to the violence. The situation is also volatile in neighboring Mali and Niger, where a multitude of armed groups control vast swaths of land that have long suffered from weak governance. Twelve education professionals were killed and 17 assaulted or abducted in the documented attacks. While the armed groups have appeared to so far spare children during the attacks, they succeed in terrifying the students by shooting in the air. One of the countries that I was most worried about for COVID-19. Hospitals overwhelmed as coronavirus cases explode in India. More than a fifth of the country's coronavirus cases are in Mumbai, where people are struggling to find hospital beds. When Manit Parikh's mother tested positive for the new coronavirus, she was rushed to an ambulance to Mumbai's private Lilavati hospital, but officials told the family no critical care beds were available. 5 hours and dozens of calls later, the family found a bed for her at the private Bombay hospital. A day later, Parikh's 92-year-old diabetic grandfather had breathing difficulties and was taken to the city's Breach Candy Hospital, another top private facility, but there were no beds. They said they didn't have a bed, not even a normal one. His grandfather died hours later. $630,000 to 2.1 million people could be infected by July. I think that number is way too low. I think that number is way, way too low. I think it's going to be worse in India. Cases are doubling every 13 days, even as the government begins easing lockdown restrictions. India has 0.5 beds per 1,000 people. China has 4.3 beds per 1,000 people. The United States has 2.3 beds per 1,000 people. While millions of India's poor rely on the public health system, especially in rural areas, private facilities account for 55% of hospital admissions, according to government data. Shortage of staff and beds. Resident doctors are getting less time off. already overburdened, treating patients without adequate protective gear, exposing them to higher risk. Healthcare has never gotten a top priority in their country. The Indian government estimates it spends only 1.5% of its GDP on public health. I know, Andre. I know. Taiwan targets truth, not justice, as it investigates darker times. Justice Commission modeled on bodies in South Africa and South America probes killings during the years of martial law. I'm going to have to go, but I'll read this one on my own as it's not as pertinent to modern times. And I'm just getting a little bit tired. I want to be able to get through all of these articles. I asked my parents if I was allowed to build raised beds or try to start a garden here, and they politely told me no. Our land ends right there. That's a farm back there. That's where the land ends. I'm not entirely allowed to start something here. Also, this isn't where I live. I live in Philadelphia. I'm at my parents' house. And I don't know how long I'm going to be here for. Carrie Lam lies and says security laws will not affect Hong Kong freedoms. They forgot to put Carrie Lam lies in the title here. 2 to 2.5 hours away. 2 to 2.5 hours from where I live. They claim it's only going to target a handful of lawbreakers. Yeah, right. The commander of China's military garrison in Hong Kong said in a rare interview that the garrison formally supported the security legislation. They had the determination and ability to safeguard China's national sovereignty and the long-term prosperity and security of the city. Fucking ghouls. Afghanistan to free more than 900 Taliban prisoners. The move comes after President Ashraf Ghani announced release of Taliban prisoners following Eid ceasefire by the Taliban. It's important to extend the ceasefire and to avoid bloodshed. The Afghan government is ready to extend it. The pause in fighting, which came into effect Sunday to mark the Muslim festival of Eid al-Fitr, and the prisoner release offer hope of peace for the South Asian country ravaged by nearly 20 years of war. On Sunday, President Ghani's spokesman responded to the Taliban ceasefire by announcing plans to release up to 2,000 U.S. Taliban prisoners. Bloomberg opinion: Kushner's latest idea doesn't make much sense. The president's senior advisor wants to drastically overhaul the party's platform. Good luck with that. He wants a Republican Party platform so short it can be printed on a single card that fits in people's pockets. Wait, really? United States nationalism pits the financial world against China. Restrictions on international finance threaten to join those being imposed on people in trade. Bloomberg opinion, Noah Smith. There's widespread worry that companies from China, where the disease is more under control and the economy has been harmed less, could seize the opportunity to snap up corporate assets around the world. India's government recently put in place a law that requires explicit government approval for any acquisition from a country with which it shares a land border. People should be worried that the United States has dumped $6.7 trillion into our financial markets that might go to vultures and private equity managers that are also going to go around the world buying these things up. But you omitted this from your opinion piece. EU member governments have been suggested to buy stakes in domestic companies to block Chinese takeovers, and Japan recently moved to limit foreign investment. China, feeling stronger and more confident than the other nations, has been pushing in the other direction, encouraging overseas financial companies to do business in China. All right. Hello, hey Hefbo. How are you doing today? And Icy Grills, good to see you. Wow, 63 viewers. Thank you, everybody. It's really amazing of you all. We have, it looks like a lot of Bloomberg articles to parse through here, and then back to the New York Times. Now in default, Argentina plans improved offer for creditors, of course. Talks with bondholders will continue even after Argentina failed to pay the $500 million in overdue interest last week. They asked bondholders for a 3-year moratorium on payments and a sharp cut to interest rates, extended the deadline to reach an agreement until the 2nd of June. They're looking to restructure their $65 billion in international debt. Excuse me. I feel horrible for countries that are going to be put into austerity by the IMF and the United States. Okay, we covered the Hong Kong article so far. Federal workers see risks to them in Trump push to reopen the United States. I'm going to go thank the garbage man. The garbage man just came to take our stuff, and I'm just going to keep my distance from him but say thank you. Thank you. You guys need anything? Thank you. Federal workers see risks to them in Trump push to reopen the United States. Yeah, we've left some money by the garbage bags at times. It's like the smallest thing that I can do, but I'll leave like a $5 bill out there or something. I don't have a ton, but it's something to help out. So as Donald Trump presses states to reopen, government workers and their unions say they're increasingly concerned that their bosses will force them back to the office without sufficient protection. Agencies' approaches to returning to offices have been uneven, they say. Although the Securities and Exchange Commission's chief told many workers to plan on staying home through mid-July, the IRS has called back 11,000 workers. Wait, so they're saying that they're worried about going back to work. Incentive. National Park employees. So this article could be said instead of... I don't know why they needed to say federal. They could have just said workers. Yet why... there's no need for this word to be in the frame. That word doesn't even need to be there. You could just delete the word federal, and then you can have a lot better article than this one. Well then, thank you, Kez, for the dono earlier. It was unnecessary, and I very much appreciate it. Wuhan tests millions in 12 days as China fears a second virus wave. Wuhan found 206 asymptomatic patients from 6.68 million people. Mass testing campaign launched after several cases found. Oh, somebody is burning something now too. The city offered tests to 1.1 million people on the 23rd of May, more than 26 times the number that were completed on the first day. Wow. All right, we are back to the New York Times once again. So what we have left: how the Taliban outlasted a superpower, tenacity and carnage, China's young struggle for jobs in the post-outbreak era, China's virus apps may outlast the outbreaks during privacy fears. Here's how Wuhan tested 6.5 million people for the coronavirus in days. In praise of fallible leaders, written by Paul Krugman, we need a president who can admit when he's wrong. The backward logic of austerity threatens America's most vibrant campus. The brutal clarity of Trump-McConnell plan to protect businesses. Keeping your business going may mean both growing and shrinking. It's not obesity, it's slavery. We know why COVID-19 is killing so many black people. ISIS prisoners threatened the United States mission in northeastern Syria. Why Amazon fires keep raging 10 years after a deal to end them. After a Caribbean hurricane, the battle is where or even whether to rebuild. As Bolsonaro keeps Amazon vows, Brazil's indigenous fear ethnocide. Either they kill us or we kill them inside gang territory in Honduras. Women are fleeing death at home. The United States wants to keep them out. How American gun laws are fueling Jamaica's homicide crisis. Where the police wear masks and the bodies pile up fast. The police killed an average of 17 people every day in Brazil last year, and rogue officers are killing even more off duty. By air and sea, mercenaries landed in Libya, then the plan went south. Oil-starved Venezuela celebrates the arrival of tankers from Iran. We pretty much already covered that one. And as meatpacking plants reopen, data about worker illness remains elusive. We had 103 tabs open. How do I retain the knowledge after reading all of these articles? I don't. I just pass it on to all of you, and you all take bits and pieces of it, and then you share the information out to other people. I'm lucky to remember some things. But yeah, I definitely don't remember all of this. I found this, and it's not The Onion. Alberta minister says it's a great time to build a pipeline because, oh my god. Jesus, CPL. I don't think I need to do anything aside from hashtag ghouls for it. I mean, thanks for sharing it. Okay, let us keep pushing. Yeah, and these, I mean, some of these articles are, we're now getting into novels. Oh, is that lawnmower super loud? You know what, actually, everyone, here's, I think, what we're gonna do. I think that I am going to end the morning stream. I think that I'm going to come back in the afternoon to cover these New York Times pieces before I do the show with Rage Pope. So, I will be back between 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1600 or 1630 Eastern Standard Time. And we'll go through these longer New York Times pieces. Well, and actually, but the lawnmower went away. Oh no, yeah. They're going to be mowing the lawn, so it's going to be a little bit irksome. Hey though, everybody, I would say great job today though. I mean, I think that we really covered a lot of very good information, and I mean, I would have to say hats off to you and hats off to me on today's work. I think that we were very productive. Wait, there are not many people streaming today. Is Act.tv still not working? They must still be invisible. You all know where you're going. I will see you all soon. Thank you, everyone. Oh shit, I just missed a host with. Oh, wow. A difficult truth. I am so sorry for missing your host. Holy shit. Thank you for bringing 7 viewers over. I appreciate that. I didn't mean to miss that one on you, I just didn't see it pop up. Send me a DM sometime with Difficult Truth and we can get together.